Hi. So today we're making banana bread. We're gonna make about a loaf that's about this big. How are we gonna do it? It's a good question. We've got these bananas that are like super ripe. They're always left over from when we get bananas, so I'm just gonna use that. Also, we're gonna try and keep everything down to this one bowl that we're gonna get dirty, so that's a good thing. So we need bananas, we need some melted butter. This is about 100 and a little bit more. We need some baking soda and we need some baking powder. We need 1 teaspoon each. We have 2 eggs here that I've already beaten up. We have a bunch of sugar that hopefully should be enough. I'm gonna kind of line the thing up with some coconut oil just because I have it. We've got some pecan nuts that I've already chopped up with a little bit of grated coconut, and we've got a little bit of vanilla essence as well. And we've got some spices. So I have ground up some fresh cinnamon, a bit of clove and a bit of cardamom, and it smells absolutely amazing. And we've got some flour. So again, I'm using strong white bread flour because that's what I have. Use what you have, it'll be fine. And obviously a bit of salt. So we're going to start by first putting the oven on 175, you know, full blast, not full blast, but 175. So what we're going to do first is we're going to line our tin with a little bit of oil. You can use whatever you want. You can use butter, you can use olive oil. I am using coconut oil just because, again, like I said, I have it, and that's what I use it for. Plus I've already got some coconut flakes in that little nut mix, so it's going to be kind of, hopefully the flavor of the oil will complement what's already in the bread. Again, like, you know, you don't want something with like a really strong flavor that's gonna kind of kill whatever the bread is doing. That's not good. So yeah, that's about good enough. You want to get the edges because that's where it normally tends to stick the most. So once that's done, you want to give your hand a bit of a rinse to get some of the fat off, and it's not going to work, but that's okay. Cool. Now we're going to start with the actual kind of fun bit. So we're going to get rid of this. Oops. And we're going to start with our little bowl here. So I'm going to use a size of bowl that kind of makes sense for me. And again, you just want the bananas to be as gnarly as possible, just because that's the fermentation, right? So that literally means it's going to be as sweet as it can get. You can absolutely use normal bananas, you know, that aren't this brown, and they'll still taste pretty good. You just have to work hard at mushing them up, is all. That's the only other thing. So obviously these are already falling apart, so I don't really need to kind of worry about them too much. Yeah, that's like super. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with as much of the wet stuff as we possibly can. So I'm gonna start by mushing up this banana. Gonna chuck in the melted butter a little bit, then the eggs. Gonna give that as much of a mix as possible. And then we're going to start adding the dry ingredients one small bit at a time. So the salt, the baking powder, the sugar, and then last will be the flour. And then at the end, when we have a batter, that's when I'll mix up the nuts. And that's it. So it's a pretty simple, kind of easy thing to put together. It doesn't really take that long. So that's about good enough. I'm going with my melted butter. Really nice and simple way to melt butter is if you've got butter in the fridge, just kind of chuck it in the microwave for about 10 seconds at a time, and just keep an eye on it because you don't want it to like completely boil and separate and go mad. And that tends to do the trick for me, because I have a really hard time kind of, especially with recipes around creaming butter and sugar. I find that stuff really difficult to kind of do, but this works pretty well. Creaming butter and sugar, by the way, is not something we're going to do for this recipe, but we are going to eventually when we make cookies. That's when we'll do that. That's pretty good. Again, I don't really want air in there necessarily. I just want to mix it up so the fat and the water are dealt with. Just looking for uniformity. That's pretty good. And now let's start with our little dry frames. So we're gonna go for a spoon. So one teaspoon each You don't have to be perfect about it. That's fine. Even though like baking is an exact science, it's not like an exact science. Like it's fine if you kind of, you know, don't get all of it perfect. Yeah, it's about enough. Give that a bit of a mix. Let's get our spices in. Let's get some vanilla in. It's about enough. So it might separate a little bit, and that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely normal. When the flour and everything goes in, it will sort itself out. So how much sugar? This is completely up to you. I'm not gonna go for the full cup. I'm gonna go for half a cup's worth of sugar. It's about that much. Which is not very much, but I mean it is much. But I like. Last time I made one, I didn't put very much sugar, and it didn't taste very nice. I'm just trying to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So now we're gonna go for 1 cup of flour, well 2 cups of flour. So we've got all our dried ingredients. We've got that, all of it except for the nuts, which I said would go in last. It's almost 1 cup. Yeah. Almost 2, and then a little bit more to compensate for the holes that we had. That's about 2 cups of flour. You just want to move this back out of the way. So we're gonna keep mixing this up till it comes together into some kind of batter. Then we're gonna put in the nuts, fold everything in, put it in the pan, do a little dressing on top, and that's really about it. It's a pretty simple recipe really, this one. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. That little mushy weird texture. So because we didn't start with flour at the bottom, there's no flour at the bottom. Usually when you make a cake and you mix in the dry and wet ingredients separately, which is what we didn't do here, we went 1 bowl. You want to make sure there's no kind of flour left at the bottom, which is not the case here. That's good. I'll go for that. So what do I have in here? I have a whole bunch of pecans and some grated coconut. How much? Whichever you want, really. There's no, there is such a thing as too much, I suppose. But yeah, this doesn't look like it's too much. I reckon that was about a handful. That's very delicious. Now we're gonna get this in here. So what we're gonna do is the best way to do this is first focus on getting everything in, and then we'll kind of spread everything out into an even layer. There we go, that's nice. Make sure there's no spillage. Yeah, it's very nice. You could put anything in here, by the way. If you've got like a bunch of chocolate chips, that would be amazing. If you've got some walnuts, that would be amazing as well. If you've got almonds, cashews, all of it will go really well. Just gonna give it a bit of a flattening thing. This I think is about like a maybe 1.5, maybe 2 liter pan. I don't actually know, but it's big enough in that it sort of sits about halfway, which is what you really want, because this will puff up a little bit because of the baking soda and the baking powder that we've added, and there is enough kind of fat in the butter and the eggs to kind of give it that food to be able to do that. Now, before we put it in, We want to make sure our oven is up to temperature. It's not too quick, but it will be good enough. What I'm going to do additionally, is I'm just going to get a handful of these bad boys and kind of just dot them around like that. So when it kind of comes up in the bread, each sort of slice will have like a little pecan on top, which will be a nice little. And I think that was perfect. The oven's just come up to temperature. So as I said before, it's at 175, and I've got the fan on as well. So I'm going to put it in there for about, actually no, I'm going to do the third row. I'm going to put it in there for about 45 minutes and then check on it. Sometimes it can take up to an hour depending on, you know, the temperature and the humidity and all kinds of weird stuff. But basically after 45 minutes, just sort of keep an eye on things. Stick a bread knife in there or a fork or whatever and see if it comes out wet. I'm going to check on it in 45 minutes and that's when you'll be back. Oh. Cool, it's been 10 minutes. I've let this cool down a bit, and in the meantime I've whipped up some cream with a little bit of powdered sugar for dessert. Now, to start with, you can either go with the end piece or the middle piece. In the interest of trying to get a nice little cross section, I'm going to go for the middle bit. And this is what it looks like. Ooh, it's very, very beautiful bread, as you can clearly see. I like going for about the slice that's about the width of the nut that's in there, just because it's pretty delicious, and I'm pretty hungry for dessert, so that's what I'm going to go with. One of the reasons I really like this recipe, or the simplicity of it, is it's just very simple to remember. It's about 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of flour, 2 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, like things like that. They're just incredibly. 2 cups of flour, 2 eggs, 100 grams of butter, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a bunch of nuts, as much sugar as you really want to eat. So it's just very easy to remember. And I'm going to dish that up and then take a picture of it, and that'll be dessert. I'm just gonna go right on top of it. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. And that is my banana bread. There you go.